We're tricking the body and saying, what's the most caloric restriction I can get, which is fasting? What's the longest period of time I can do it for, which is 2 days? And then 5 more days of full eating where the body goes, oh, I'm not starving. And then you hit it again every single week. And then you get all the benefits of fasting too. The faster you progress yourself, the faster you're going to get the results. But the faster you might hit a roadblock. And so you have to make that decision based off your stress levels, what you have going on in your life. Maybe you do want to move fast, but objectively, if your life is really stressed and you started this because you're like, you know what, I don't want to wait for my life to get better because I don't have a timeline on that. If you do look at your life and you go, it is really stressed, a lot of stuff going on, then I would advise you to go slower.
With that calorie calculator thing, we don't need to worry about that yet?
The calorie counting, or the calculator, it's called a TEE calculator.
Mm-hmm.
What that number represents is how many calories in a perfect world you should be eating every day. But I just said making you count calories for life is not sustainable anyways, and you don't have to actually do it. But it's nice though, because the calorie counting experiment, you still want to have an estimation, an ability to estimate that I need to be eating blank. And I can tell you, most of you you're gonna be somewhere around 17 to 2100. Just depends on activity level. But gender, age, range, activity. So somewhere if you guys are going to get that number back. But you need to know, especially for you, Wendy, because you're like, okay, 2000 calories. What the hell does that look like? You know what I mean? Because then you're going to be able to know, okay, I can estimate what 2000 looks like. Since for your, go ahead, Wendy. Your number, that includes everything else. So the BMR is a number that represents how much your calories your body burns if you literally didn't move all day. That's what that number represents. And then you burn a lot more. Not double, probably 30 to 40% more you burn, and that's what the TE is. That's the amount of calories that you should be eating on an average day. Now, not during the reset though, because the reset means that you're under eating, and it means that we're gonna work week by week. We're gonna slowly increase your calories to get you to the TEE. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Any questions for your starting point, Wendy?
I assumed I'm just counting calories and seeing how many calories I'm doing to see if I need to do a reset.
Correct. You're going to text us and then we're going to tell you.
Okay.
And guys, we're gonna talk about fasting and all the different categories next. So when I ask you if there's any questions about the reset, it's just about your reset, and then we'll move forward. Fantastic. Okay. Look, Keisha, did I say that right?
Yeah, Keisha, that's fine.
Keisha. Okay, cool. You're on Mounjaro currently. I think you said what, 2 weeks?
This second week, yes.
Perfect. You're getting it from someone else, not us. Fantastic. Okay. Same question for you. Do you have any idea how many calories you're consuming?
Yes, in the past couple of weeks, it's been about 15 to 1700 because I'm using Factor keto meals. That comes right on the box, tells me exactly what it is.
Right. Now, question for the past 2 weeks, about 1500 to 1700. What do you think that compares calorie-wise to what you were eating for the last month prior to that?
Less. I was eating more than that. And I was calorie counting for a little while. Like you said, I learned a lot. I'm like, oh, wow, this is how much I was eating. And it was way, way too much.
Yeah, okay.
Like 2,500 range. Okay.
So I'm assuming in the last 2 weeks, you've already started losing a good amount of weight then, right?
Last week I only lost 1 pound, but I'm cool with that.
Okay. Well, the reason why I say that is because that's concerning. If you only lost a pound and you went from, that's a big deficit.
Yeah.
You should have lost more. And so that tells me your body is, unfortunately, it was such an aggressive jump in the deficit that your body's, and now it's down regulating. Yeah, but we're catching this early. So this is good. Okay. So I want to do a very mini reset with you. Let's do this. And you've never counted on your own other than just paying attention to the labels now is what you're saying?
I have counted before, yes.
Yes.
Last year I went 30 days straight so I can see what I was eating and cool. All that good stuff. Yeah.
So you have familiarity with certain foods and okay, good.
Absolutely.
So I want you to do 1800 for this week, and then we're going to see what happens to your weight, and we'll decide from there. Maybe one more week at 2000, and then we'll turn around and we'll start the program. So it'll be a short reset for you. Perfect.
All right, no problem.
All right. Any more questions about your kind of starting point for the reset?
No, I'll just make sure to start tracking again, even with the factor meals, and make sure I try to hit around that average.
Yeah, if you might need to add a little extra food on top of the fact. Yeah, for sure. Okay, good. Michelle, so you're currently on tirzepatide, finishing your 4th month at 5 milligrams, correct?
So I was on 10, I thought I was on 5. And then when I did my questionnaire, I said I was having some hunger pains and I just got my next shipment and they bumped me up again. So I don't think it's like 12.5 and I don't think I need that.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand. You were on 10, not 5, and now they bumped you to 12, but you haven't taken it yet. Okay.
No, I haven't taken it. I take mine Tuesday mornings. So I don't
10,
know. Huh?
I was gonna say 10's already high, so I like the way that you're thinking.
So I don't know if I need to reorder or
Is it the pens you can't change the dose?
it's in my fridge.
No, but is it the pens where it's a single injection, or is it a bottle that you can draw how much you want?
I can draw.
Oh, cool. So you can use it. You can use it more than once. Essentially, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I have 4 pins in a bottle, but it's 12.5 and I know that's high.
So, guys, there's two types of the medication. There's the ones where the dose is on the pin and you can't change it. You can only inject what's that. Or
Okay.
you get what we have, which is a bottle where you have a needle and you draw however much you want.
So I don't have to take the 50 units.
That's what I was asking. Do you have the ability to control how much
Yes.
of that? Okay, good. Okay, good. And then I've seen some of the pins where it's a pin, but it still lets you control. So I've seen all sorts of different versions out there. It's crazy. Okay, good. So you can use it and use less of it. That's key.
Okay.
How many months have you been on the 10?
I did the 10 for 2 months-ish. I really wasn't paying attention. I've been on it for
Ish.
4.
Yeah.
Got my shipments. I think I went up from 5 to 10 pretty fairly quickly. I wasn't following any kind of calorie counting. I was just basically using it for appetite suppressant to see what would happen.
Totally. And I think
I was
I
like,
think-
I'm spending a lot of money. I need to like really take this seriously.
I think 85% of the world right now is being sold these medications and no coaching, no guidance. It's just here you go. And
Yeah.
how exciting is the allure of easy weight loss?
Yeah, I thought I'd lose more than I have.
Some people do, and then they gain it back, which is almost a bigger problem, right? But either way, I'm glad you're here because we're going to do this right.
Yeah.
Okay, now the calorie question. What have
Sure.
you've counted before in the past or never? have
Oh,
counted?
absolutely. I've done every diet under the sun. I've even done HCG, so I was counting 500 a day. Oh yeah, I've done Weight Watchers, Jenny. I've done it all. Absolutely.
Gotcha. So what do you think? This is my confidence is high that this will be the last one you have to do. But what do you think you've been averaging daily intake last 2 weeks?
Probably 12 or 1500, 12, 1500.
12 to 15. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you still losing weight in the last 2 weeks?
Last 2 weeks, I lost 5 pounds because I was also sick. So I wasn't very hungry either. So
Wow.
that also helped. But I did lose, like, I was stuck at 10 pounds for quite a while. And then I weighed myself and I was like, oh, I'm 5 down.
God. Let's do a reset.
Yeah, I think I need a reset.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the concept once we're done with all you guys of should you stop your med or not. That's a whole separate conversation that you guys are going to have to make that decision because I can't give you that medical advice.
Yeah.
But so we'll table that. But let's start you off at 1500 for your first week.
Okay. And then as far as my injection next week, I have the 12.5 in my fridge and I have the peptides. So do I just take a lower, not as many units? Take my units and see how it goes, and then I could go back down to 10, go down.
So that'll be a decision after we cover that section, which is basic because there's 2 ways to look at it, and I want to get through everyone's individual, and then we can all make a decision because it'll be your decision, but we want to know what you decide. It could go both ways. You can do a reset and continue to take the med, or you can stop the med and do a reset. And there's pros and cons to each scenario. So I want to arm you guys with the decision so you guys can choose.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. So which med have you been taking and what dose and for how long?
I'm on Mounjaro, and I was on Trulicity for 9 months, and I just kept losing muscle, so I asked to switch to Mounjaro because I do weight train and I'm very active, and I haven't tried every diet, but I have played with my calories, and I went down to 1,000 just because my son was getting married, and I'm like, fuck this, I'm gonna beat this, I'm just gonna starve myself.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
I was working with a trainer too, and I was doing keto, and I did lose a lot of weight by myself, and then I just plateaued to where I was 20 years ago, and I had stayed at that weight I wouldn't go below that. So I have a lot of muscle. I'm 130 pounds. The Buongiorno killed the appetite. I don't really care about food, but I really wasn't eating bad anyways for
Yeah.
20 years. I just would not burn the fat. I gained muscle like crazy and I just cut back on my lifting. So then I've been watching your videos and my doctor likes where I'm at 12.5 because my insurance covers it. And they know I have metabolic issues, but until I start talking about you, they don't know what to do with it. I was trying the intermittent fasting anyways, or late start breakfast, and
Yeah.
then going down to 2 meals anyways. And the only other thing the one trainer was saying, don't eat any fat either. No fat, no sugar, just protein, sparingly vegetables. And
Yeah, that's a recipe
I
for
kind of
disaster,
follow
just so
that
you
a
know.
little bit, but I
Yeah.
thought vegetables didn't make me fat. So
No, you got to have fat. Fat's fat, but there's a right type of fat. Okay, so you're on 12.5 Mounjaro. You were on Trulicity for 9 months, and you just trying to put all the pieces together. So you, the last couple of weeks, you've still been losing, or you're in a plateau currently?
I actually did, when I ran out of Trulicity and when Jorna was on back order, I was just taking whatever weight management stuff I could find that had Cambodia in it. I still went back up the 7 pounds that I'd lost, but it was fat, not the muscle, because I won't train like I was because I was just getting exhausted. I was
Yeah.
doing everything like a
Gotcha.
guy. And
Gotcha.
so I did lose that 7 pounds since I've been on this Mounjaro about 2 months now that it got back in stock. And I actually did lose another 2 pounds. I took the troches that you sent, and like in 2 days, I lost 2 pounds, which I knew I needed that trigger, like you were talking before.
AOD is great. No, AOD is great. So then let me ask you this question. Do you know how many calories you're averaging last 2 weeks per day?
No, 12 to 1500.
Okay.
Not a lot for my weight because I am higher, but like I said, I have a lot of muscle.
Yeah.
But they were trying to tell me to eat 2,500. I tried that, I didn't lose anything. And then I slowly wiggled it down.
Yeah.
Now I just eat a lot of protein. Like I'm drinking my protein coffee with coconut milk. That's my lunch.
Totally. So we gotta, yeah. So I get that if I had you eating 2,500 calories a day, you're not going to lose weight. Of course not. But the goal is going to be for all you guys that high number that we talked about, which is generally around 2,000 for most of you guys. The goal here, and we're going to talk more about it in a second, is we're not losing fat every day. We got to get out of that mindset. We're doing the FLOA protocol. So we're going to be doing a long fast. And in that 2-day period, you're going to lose all the fat for the entire week. And then the other 5 days, you're trying to eat 2,000 plus, depending on where you're at. And now you know what a representation of a full day's worth of food looks like. So you have to almost overeat on those 5 days because we want to prevent our body from going into another plateau. That's the design of this. We're tricking the body and saying, what's the most caloric restriction I can get, which is fasting? What's the longest period of time I can do it for, which is 2 days? And then 5 more days of full eating where the body goes, oh, I'm not starving. And then you hit it again every single week. And then you get all the benefits of fasting too. So just wanted to touch on that. But Chris, either way, or yeah, Chris, we're gonna have to bump your intake back up. But I don't want you to go straight to 2,000 or 2,500 because you'll start gaining weight most likely. And so why don't we start with, I think maybe you said you've been doing how much again? 12 to 15, you think?
Yeah, and sometimes I've just been trying to vary depending on the days. If I'm lifting that day, I need a little more protein because I want to gain the muscle. I'd rather have that. But the extra muscle doesn't seem to help me lose weight like they do for guys.
It does. So muscle mass is the same for men and women, but women you have other hormones that kind of suppress it a little bit. And that's probably what you're noticing for sure. But at the end of the day, you have to be in a caloric surplus to really build some substantial amount of muscle. And don't worry, we're not going to be building that much muscle. And a side note too, as well, you were saying you lost all the muscle on Trulicity. These medications, the GLP-1s, do not cause muscle mass loss inherently on their own. What causes muscle mass loss is being in a caloric deficit and not eating enough protein and not lifting weights properly. Those are the 3 scenarios that will create muscle mass loss. And the opposite is true. Eating enough calories, eating enough protein, solid weight training will cause muscle building. Now, for you guys, I'm not trying to build muscle, but I am trying to protect the muscle mass you have on your body. So we are going to be training and lifting like we're trying to build. We're going to be eating high protein, but our calories on a weekly basis are still going to be in a deficit because you freaking fasted for 2 whole days, right? So even though the other 5 days are full days of eating, on a weekly basis, you're in a deficit. And so we're going to protect the muscle mass, maybe build a little bit, because if you never lifted weights, you might build. But for the most part, you're not going to be building that much. So Chris, let's start you off on a reset, 1,600 calories for week number 1, and then we're going to work with you to see how high we can get you. And then once you're through the reset, then we can start with the longer fasting.
The question I have, I drink a lot of this and I add it to everything. And I was only doing 2 scoops. And they were saying, what I did is I'm doing like, it's a small scooper, like 6 scoops and everything. And that kind of stopped the muscle loss. I haven't lost any muscle in about 6 months now. Is there any maximum? It says with 2 scoops, you're at your daily, but I feel for me, like I needed more.
So collagen peptides are great. There's no, you can't OD on them, I guess, is if that's what you're asking. Yeah, there's no concern with taking more. You probably don't need more collagen peptides. Whey protein would actually be much better for muscle building, just so you know. Collagen peptides, they'll have their own benefits, usually cap out 30 to 60 grams a day, though. You'd get better muscle protection with whey protein, just so you know.
Yeah, I was doing that, but then I read for women that whey, if you have a milk sensitivity, which I do, might make you fatter. So that was one of those.
If you have a dairy or whey intolerance, it'll make anybody feel worse because it might be inflammatory. So yes, if you don't tolerate whey, try whey isolate. Whey isolate gets a lot of that whey out, and see if you can tolerate that. And we'll talk more about protein here in a second. But
Okay.
Any questions on your reset, Chris? Because I'm not sure if you got that. So you're going to be doing a reset first, and you're going to be starting
I
at
have to
1,600
go in
calories.
for the reset. That in the info, the reset is the no eating, right?
No, it's eating. Here, I'm going to show you guys again, just in case anybody missed it. The concept of today's call was that you guys have already read everything here and watched all the videos, but I know it's a lot, so that's why.
It's overwhelming to try to, and I'm pretty seasoned. I still get overwhelmed.
So that's why today is all about filling the gaps and then telling you what to go study. So anybody that's doing a reset, if you don't feel absolutely positive that you understand what it is, section number 10 and section number 11. Okay. So that's your homework, Chris. Okay, fantastic. Let's close this. All right, Paula.
Hi.
So hello.
It's bumping me out now and then, so if I disappear, I'll be right back.
Okay. So we haven't done GLP-1s, and you are pre-diabetic. Do you happen to know what your A1C is last time you had it checked?
I have done seasons where I've done well keto eating and some fasting, and my last A1C was 5.3, but the highest it's been is 6.2. And the last 3 months I've gained 15, 20 pounds, and I'm sure it's back up again.
So you haven't had it checked, but your guess is it's back up because you know how. Okay.
If you're watching these clips from my coaching calls and wishing you can be part of the team, I'll put a link in the description, but we have thousands of individuals who are kicking ass using microdose intermittent use protocols and implementing sustainable lifestyle strategies, guys. Click that link, fill out your information. Now back to the show.
You don't have to go get it checked, but since it's a cheap test, I would go get it checked because you are pre-diabetic now, and we want to just make sure we can get that A1C down to the low 5 range. This protocol will do that, by the way. Literally, this is the verbatim diabetes reversal program as much as it is obesity reversals. Okay, do you happen to know how many calories you average?
I don't. Last 3 months I've not been eating well, so I'm sure it's high. I've gained weight. That's where I'm at. I started counting calories yesterday. I was more mindful, and it was around 1,800.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be more reasonable now and get back on track, even though I don't have the notes yet.
Yeah, no, if you know that being mindful, meaning probably eating less, is still at 1,800, then you're good. You're eating enough. You've been eating enough. You're like, I know. So you're good. So Paula, no reset needed. We can roll right into the program. Okay. So now addressing you guys all really quick before we talk about fasting. So questions about the reset or things to think with. AOD is totally okay to start right away. It is pricey peptide though, and just be aware that we don't give you enough AOD to assume a reset or not, because everyone's different. So just if you're okay with that, you'll probably need to buy more before this 3 months runs out. So that's your decision. You don't have to take AOD during the reset, and I want to be mindful of your guys' finances as much as possible so nobody feels like I didn't know that. So I really want to get that in, but if you're okay with buying more, then it's a phenomenal peptide to add. So that's pretty straightforward. Now the GLP-1, this is the interesting one, because the GLP-1, there is a benefit in general from taking a break, reset or not. There's just a benefit from taking a break from this medication. The benefits are, number one, it gives your body a chance to resensitize to the medication again, so that when you start it again, maybe you won't need as much, which is the goal, which is what I see happen very often in my program, because while you're taking a break, you're doing all these other things that are helping the body, right? That's one advantage. Number two, if the goal for a reset is to eat more and you're struggling to eat as it is, stopping the medication is going to help you do the reset, right? So that's advantage number two. And then advantage number three is there's a mental game to this, guys, right? Mindset is so important. I cannot there's no universe for you in the future where you are going to not have to control hunger and cravings to a certain degree if you want to be at a healthy weight for the rest of your life. Like, in other words, hunger is normal. Cravings are normal. And people get confused because now people are talking about food chatter as a disease. And like, yes, that's true, but we need to understand that because we're calling food chatter a disease, it doesn't mean normal means I never feel hunger again. That's not normal either. That's pathologic. Can you imagine if you never felt hunger ever in your life? You'd probably become emaciated because you'd have to remember to eat and you wouldn't. Hunger is a normal cue that keeps an organism eating energy, right? Just as much. So what makes it pathologic, what makes it a disease, is when you can't control the hunger, when you can't stop eating or you can't stop thinking about it. So the goal here is to get you guys to control that. Does that make sense? So how do we work on the control part? There's two pathways. Pathway number one is fix your body so your body stops being so hungry, so that the amount of hunger and the amount of cravings reduces. Guess what? That's going to happen from fixing insulin resistance. That's going to happen from fixing hyperinsulinemia. The other pathway is making you mentally tougher. Because think about it, if I didn't fix your body, but you were able to just musk your way through it and fight the cravings all the time, and as hard as that would be, in theory, you could mindset your way to it. That's really challenging and has its limitations. And I bring this up because both is the ideal pathway. Let's fix your body and let's fix your mindset so that in the future, it's an easier battle and you're mentally tougher and prepared to do it. So taking a break from medication is nice because it gives you a chance to feel the hunger again and go, whoa, I got to control it again. Get some control in, get some reps in at practicing controlling crazy amount of cravings. And so obviously when I go over those reasons, I want to take a break from the medication. If you decide to do that, your choice, just let us know via text. And so we can put that in your chart. Like I said, you don't have to stop the medication. I've had people continue the dose as well. So does anybody have any questions about the AOD or choosing to stop the GLP-1 during the reset? Cool. Okay.
I have a question about the meds though.
Sure.
I have 2 shots left still that I haven't taken. Can I start using them, or?
In general, you could use your GLP-1s. I have no problem with that. Just make sure you're applying it within the framework of what we just talked about, right? So if you're in a reset, I wouldn't start the medication for sure if you're not taking it now, because we want to get through the reset. But absolutely,
Okay.
After the reset, yeah, use your med, guys. I have no problem with that. I want to save you guys as much money as I can.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, so the fasting. So the only modification to this entire program, if you are in a reset, guys, so this is really important, and it has to do with fasting, which is the next topic. No long fasting when you're in a reset. You can do intermittent fasting. I'm okay with that. That's your daily, compress the window to 8 hours. So you guys are okay to start that now, but nothing more than that, because that'll prevent the reset from accomplishing what we need to accomplish, which is telling the body, hey, I'm no longer starving. So it's vitally important we don't go into long fasting until after the reset. Any questions on that?
Yes.
Keisha, yes.
So a quick one on that. Of course, I've been all through the materials. Last week, I was able to do, because I've done OMAD before, so I did 2 24-hour fasts.
Nice.
Today is another 24-hour fast. But because we're going through a reset, you don't want me to do that. I'll just stick to like a 6-hour window for myself.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll make it harder for your body. In theory, if you're eating 1 meal a day and that meal was exactly the calories it needs to be, in theory, it could still work. But the priority for the reset is really giving the body the signal that, hey, we're not starving. Let's speed things up again. So it's better. Like, you could do a 6-hour window totally.
Okay, great.
Some of you will notice during the reset, even in 8 hours, you can't eat enough. If that's the case, I would rather you increase the window because hitting your calorie goals is so important during the reset. Okay. Any other reset, fasting, GLP-1, AOD reset questions? Yes, Michelle.
I will watch those 2 sections right after we're out here. But my one question, which will probably get answered, is everybody's reset window different based on, or do we all have the same reset window?
It's different. Yeah. On average, it can be anywhere between 2 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
Cool. Great question. So the fasting, we stick with intermittent during the reset. Once the reset's over, or if you're not in a reset, guys, you want to get yourself into the flow stage as quickly as you can / desire. Let that sink in for a second. As quickly as you can, because maybe you try 48 right away and you're like, I can't do that. That was too much. Okay, fine. Or maybe you're like, nah, I'm a slow and steady kind of person. Cool. That's cool too. So it's really important that you understand that you are progressing yourself through the stages at your own rate. And you might want to go faster than your body wants to go, and maybe you don't want to, right? That's your prerogative. I'm here to guide you throughout this journey. So think of me of that metaphorical spirit. You're in the car, you're driving. If you want to race, if you want the scenic route, it's all good. If you crash, we're going to get you back on track, right? Obviously, the important thing to understand is the faster you progress yourself, the faster you're going to get the results. But the faster you might hit a roadblock. And so you have to make that decision based off your stress levels, what you have going on in your life. And I'm all for people pushing themselves as long as they understand that faster progression means faster potential resistance. And if you're too stressed out to handle that, then don't do it. Another caveat is maybe you do want to move fast, but objectively, if your life is really stressed and you started this because you're like, you know what, I don't want to wait for my life to get better because I don't have a timeline on that. First of all, I respect you, and I think you shouldn't wait for life to get perfect. This is part of the process of making your life better, is getting your health in order, right? If you do look at your life and you go, it is really stressed, a lot of stuff going on, then I would advise you to go slower on your titration related to fasting, right? Schedule, because fasting is a stressor. A 48-hour fast until your body gets really good at it is an insane amount of stress. Not something that your body can't tolerate, but it's just something that none of you have ever done, right? We don't fast for those lengths of times in our society. So our ancestors did it all the time, but we stopped. So we're going to talk about food and supplements next, but do you guys have any questions about progressing yourself through the fasting? Cool. Okay, so when you're not fasting, what are you eating? And so this is really simple. It's the anti-processed food diet. The one thing that Western medicine actually agrees with functional, this is like the only topic, like even they agree processed food is bad for you, yet somehow big food companies are able to still market that to us like crazy, and they still have, anyways, despite all that, everybody does agree in the healthcare space, Western, allopathic, and functional, that, yeah, you got to stop eating processed foods. Now, if you want to go hardcore and 100% clean, that's your prerogative. A lot of benefit could happen from that, but it's also going keto for life or carnivore. Going 100% processed free is probably not sustainable. So I get a little leery when we go super hardcore on something. You got to ask yourself what looks sustainable to you. Most people can say, I can go 90% clean, give myself a little wiggle room, a couple cheat meals per week. And the goal is, I want to get you to be able to go even more relaxed than 90-10. I want to get you to 90-20, 75-25, which is very real when we fix your body. But 75-25 now, you probably won't make a lot of progress, as you can imagine. Keep it as clean as you can within that framework. Paleo and Mediterranean are really good examples if you need representations. But if you eat a lot of foreign food, then there's probably other foreign foods that fall outside those categories. The key is it processed or not? Then it falls into the appropriate category. So fruits, vegetables, meats, legumes. That's it, right? That's it. That's your unprocessed category. There's obviously a lot in those categories. And then organic, if you can budget for it, is always going to help to a certain extent. Some people more than others, but higher quality for the food you eat, I think, is an investment for so many reasons. Protein, high protein, what does that look like? Your current weight right now. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you should weigh 150. That's your target range, between 150 and 200 grams of protein per day. 200, 1 gram per pound of body weight, is probably a little more than most people need. But I find that you're always going to somehow get less than what I tell you to go for. So that's why I give you that range. And there's nothing wrong with overshooting your protein a little bit. The only exception would be if you have a known kidney disease, then your nephrologist tells you to not eat as much protein. But outside of that, extra protein that you don't need for your muscles is just going to be converted to energy. And as protein is very high on it's very satiating, which is nice. And then breaking the long fast, there's a whole section on that. Basically just taking it really slow. Bone broth soups are great to start breaking your fast. And after a 48-hour fast, it does take a full 24 hours to get back to like full digestion ability. So keep that in mind. And once you get to that stage and you are weekly doing a long fast, it's a process of you mentally and your body getting accustomed to this lifestyle, right? Because now your body starts going, wow, I'm doing this more often. Okay, cool. It starts to adapt and get better at recovery. But in the beginning, it's going to be really thrown through a loop when you go for a 40-hour fast and then you start eating. So diarrhea is expected, indigestion. Some of those GLP-1 symptoms that you maybe already had and are gone might turn on again. Just keep that in mind. Digestive enzymes can really help when you're breaking your long fast, and they can be taken every day if you need them for GLP-1s too. Diarrhea is the most common. Use that as an indicator of where you're at. If you 2-3 weeks into this are getting diarrhea, what you can learn from that is, okay, whatever I ate in that period was probably too much too fast after the long fast. Other than that, guys, that's the food topic. So any food fasting questions? We'll talk about supplements next. Supplements can be very overwhelming. As you guys know, there's an argument for so many supplements out there. And that's not my current business model, is trying to sell a bunch of supplements. But a lot of you guys are like, what do you recommend? And so that's why I have links there. But I'm not a stickler for saying you got to buy my stuff. Just make sure if you don't buy my stuff that you have a high quality product. So these right here, number C, this is an entire link for my what I call my essentials. But I have the entire list of what is essentials. It's only 4 things, guys. Fish oil, vitamin D, magnesium, and a good multi or greens product. Every human should be taking that. And I have some good recommended ranges for you as far as those products. Now, electrolytes, because you're doing the FLOA protocol, you're doing long fasting, is essential. 24 hours or longer, you must add your electrolytes and you must add that additional extra salt that you see there. So don't forget that. After that, everything else is situational, meaning it could be essential for you. I just can't say for everybody. So does anybody here have an autoimmune disease that they're dealing with as well? Okay, good.
Yes,
Oh.
sorry, Bethany. Yes, HS.
Okay. Is that really affecting you greatly? Is it under control, or have an autoimmune disease? You have higher levels of inflammation. We know that. We also know that your body is going to be more reactive to foods. If you didn't already know that, you're going to be like, gluten's probably going to mess you up more than it would most people. You might need to be a little bit more restrictive on your foods if you haven't already started that journey. Low dose naltrexone would be something that I would strongly recommend. Are you already familiar with LDN?
I talked to the doctor yesterday and she mentioned it. So Heather.
Perfect. Yep, I would absolutely recommend that you use that, not for life, but for the next year or two. It could really help dampen inflammation while you fix the body. So you get free management of that from us. And then all you need to do is pay for the prescription. And then we have a separate LDN program afterwards if you want to keep it going. So just let her know on the medical line and she'll get you rolling.
Okay.
Fantastic. I would also add curcumin and resveratrol, which was that was where I was at. Let me share that again. So curcumin and resveratrol, everybody could benefit from the anti-inflammation that these products give you. But if you have an autoimmune disease, it's even more important that I would recommend adding that to your stack as well. For people doing a reset, which I think most of you guys were, except one of you, you need 1 bottle of thyroid CMB, just 1 bottle. So order that as quickly as you can. It's a blend of different products that are going to help your thyroid gland upregulate, because that's what we're trying to do with the reset. We're trying to get your thyroid to start producing more hormone. And so the reset does that, but this will support your thyroid in the recovery of that. So 1 bottle, you could do, it says right here, the dosing of it is twice a day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, or you could do 2 in the morning if you think you're going to forget in the afternoon. We have fiber. Go ahead.
All right, Dr. Jones. One question for you. So this one would be for anybody, regardless if you have thyroid issues or not.
If you're doing a reset. Now,
Okay.
If you're doing a reset. Now, if you are already working with a doctor for hypothyroidism and you're on medication, I wouldn't worry about this one. But if you're not being medicated and you're just in a reset, this is the perfect bottle for you.
Okay. All right.
If you're not getting 20 to 30 different fruits and vegetables per week, we definitely need to add some broad spectrum fiber. So fiber is important, but what we know now is it's a blend of different types of fibers that actually matter more. And so this is my favorite broad spectrum fiber product. I do a scoop. I personally do 2 scoops a day. I'm a bigger man. You guys can do 1 scoop a day, and that's pretty nice. If you're struggling with sugar cravings, if you know you have gut issues, that's where we start going down this list. So at any point, guys, if you have any questions either now or throughout the program about some of these different categories, please let us know. If you are struggling with these issues, that's why these protocols are here, is to help you so that those issues that are individual to you in these topics don't become a roadblock, because you have a little bit of a solution and a handle to them here.
If you guys enjoyed watching this video, then you're gonna wanna check this one out. I get into a deep dive over GLP-1 medications, peptides, and lasting weight loss, guys. We'll see you later.